All this is Mubin Sayed. Welcome to the KoolBeens Cafe. Let's start with the study. This is Jason Fung's study. So, an important evolution in understanding the diabetes and the mechanisms and the therapies is that somewhere in the previous century, it was supposed that the resistance to insulin was because the internal mechanism of insulin receptor were clogged, if you will, were broken down because of presence of the free fatty acids, and the free fatty acids were present more in the people who were obese. So the connections went this way, that somebody is obese, whatever is the reason, that is because of eating, overnutritioning, or that is genetics and overnutritioning, whatever it is. And that obesity then causes more fatty acids to be produced, more free fatty acids to be available, which, when present in the cells, would cause the insulin receptors not to function correctly. More modern theories, which Jason Fung is one of the big proponent for, has been, and this is also a hypothesis. I'm sure that we'll keep learning more. His theory or his hypothesis is that the insulin resistance is really a reaction of a cell to production of more, or to availability of more insulin. So then the question becomes, why do we have more insulin? So let's say a person has eaten glucose. Once they've taken glucose, the pancreas is going to sense that glucose levels are higher in the blood and release insulin. So if we keep eating more, if we overnutrition ourselves, then we would make our pancreas to release a lot of insulin. That lot of insulin is going to go and act on a lot of insulin receptors on various cells, which in turn will cause the cells to start responding less to the insulins, to start becoming less sensitized to it, and respond less. And the result of that is that insulin is present, glucose is also present, insulin is knocking at the door, glucose is waiting to go in, the cell is saying, I don't care for your message. So it's not that the mechanism is broken, but the cell has deliberately decided not to react to the signal. The normal reaction is that when the insulin signal comes to the cell, then the cell sends the glucose transport channels to the surface, or gluts to the surface. So here it is thought that the cell is just deciding not to send gluts to the surface, so glucose cannot come in and the harm occurs. So then the solution is to reduce overnutrition, is to reduce glucose levels, or is to do intermittent fasting. And as the glucose levels go down, that would then cause the cell to start sensing that there is no overstimulation by insulin, and start allowing those processes to start working again, and that would bring the insulin sensitivity back. Now this last part then leads into this statement that insulin dependent diabetes can be reversed, or type 2 diabetes can be reversed. In the type 1 diabetes, there is not enough insulin produced, so there isn't insulin available that the cell has to be reversed for it. There's just not enough insulin. In type 2, there can be enough insulin. And then, so that is a part which is still, in my opinion, to be verified, vetted, and understood more. That can this be reversed? Now, there is another important part that we should all know, including me. I'm in that age as well. And that is, when we have insulin resistance and the glucose is running around in the body, and pancreas says, well, this glucose need to disappear. And pancreas takes it on itself to say, maybe I'm not making enough insulin to have this glucose have enough doors to go into the cells. So pancreas decides to make more insulin. And when that becomes less sufficient for us, then we give drugs to the patient that also kick the pancreas to say, make more insulin. The end result is that extra burden on pancreas causes the pancreatic cells to start burning out. So if the pancreatic cells have burnt out, then reversing the insulin resistance is not much useful because the pancreas is not making insulin. So this has to be done before. So that means intermittent fasting or controlling carbohydrates or controlling overnutrition has to be done before the pancreas itself has become irreversibly damaged. So that is an important piece to keep in mind. So let's look at this study. This study is, and Jason Fung's theory and the his book and uh, his prescriptive, you know, thoughts for or prescription for what to do are liked and criticized as well. So without looking at those mechanisms and methods critically, I wanted to see what this study is. So therapeutic use of intermittent fasting for people with type 2 diabetes as an alternative to insulin. So there are going to be, this is a case series. So that means very, very small study. So these are the patients that are going to be insulin dependent, but type 2. And then instead of giving insulin, could they just have intermittent fasting? So here, this case series documents 3 patients referred to the Intensive Dietary Management Clinic in Toronto, Canada for insulin dependent type 2 diabetes. It demonstrates the effectiveness of therapeutic fasting to reverse their insulin resistance. Number one, reverse their insulin resistance, resulting in cessation of insulin therapy. They did not need to have more insulin. That is almost impossible, but here we are, while maintaining control of their blood sugar levels. In addition, these patients were also able to lose significant amount of body weight, reduce their waist circumference, and also reduce their glycated hemoglobin level. So instead of going through the whole study, I just wanted to look at some of the tables. So here are the 3 patients. Patient 1, 40 years of age, male, years with type 2 diabetes 20. So became type 2 diabetic at 20 years of age. Comorbidities, hypertension and hypercholesterolemia. Of course, when there is diabetes, and these cardiovascular issues would appear, and cholesterol issues. Fasting. So how did this patient who was insulin dependent, what did they do? 3 times a week for 7 months. So fasted 3 times a week. Patient number 2, 52 years, male, years with diabetes 25, chronic kidney disease, renal cell carcinoma, hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, and they were also given 3 times a week for 11 months. Patient 3, 67, male, 10 years with insulin, with diabetes, hypertension and hypercholesterolemia. Alternating day for 11 months. So instead of 3, this is alternating. So what was the result? After completing the educational training, the patients were instructed to follow a scheduled 24-hour fast 3 times per week over a period of several months. Now, on fasting days, the patient only consumed dinner, whereas on non-fasting days, the patient consumed lunch and dinner. So it was not fast like 100% no eating. They, on the fasting days, they were able to take dinner. So that, in my previous discussion, they were equal to skip days. And on the other days, lunch and dinner, breakfast was skipped. Low carbohydrate meals were recommended when eating meals. Patients were examined on average twice a month and labs were recorded. So then what happened? This is the changes in glycemic and other health parameters from baseline to the end of follow-up. So patient one, initiation, hemoglobin A1C percentage, 11,967, final 7,053. Initial diabetes medication, insulin, glargine, insulin aspart, and then canagliflozin, metformin. Final canagliflozin, and that's it. Initial weight 83, final weight 73, initial waist 100, final waist 87, number of days to come off insulin 5, number of days to come. Now, now if you do this intermittent fasting, plus you do the anti-aging mechanisms or methods by Dr. David Sinclair, then you can actually stay young. And this is for me as well. You can just stay young for a very long time. Patient number two, they have the hemoglobin A1C 7.2, 55.2, and then 6 and 42. Insulin was what they started with when they started intermittent fasting. No insulin at the end of it needed. Initial weight 61, final weight 50, initial waist 89, circumference 70. Number of days to come off of insulin, 18 days. Patient number three, similar thing. So these are the drugs, metformin, insulin, blah. No drugs after they were recovered, and number of days to come off of insulin, 13. Uh, Doug says, is this a chat? Yes, it is a chat, but I wanted to make sure that I can add some value here. This is a very interesting study. So then they say at the end, learning points, medically supervised therapeutic fasting regimen can help reverse type 2 diabetes and minimize the use of pharmacological and possibly surgical intervention in patients with type 2 diabetes. Therapeutic fasting is an underutilized dietary intervention that can provide superior blood glucose reduction compared with standard pharmacological agents. Fasting is a practical dietary strategy. With proper education and support, we found compliance to be good. So this, I love this study. Okay, so now what's happening? So next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, question days. So why not we do this? So tell me this. We'll actually write the post to collect the questions today. Should I create the post on cafe channel or the post on the main channel? We would still answer them on the cafe. Plus, Lernan was correct yesterday. I was doing a weird kind of a math yesterday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days we would collect the question. Then 3 days will work as well. So we can actually do a chit chat on Wednesday. But anyways, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So do you want me to create the so Doug says Dr. David Sinclair. So David Sinclair, his work, Sinclair Labs, are Harvard labs, and his work is on aging. And he has actually, if you see this research, these both mice are actually same age. Can you imagine? One looks like a baby and one looks old. So control versus ice at 16 months of age. And here we have developed the relocalization of chromatin modifiers hypothesis. So they've done some work on these, and now they want to do it on human beings. So they have these mechanisms here. So yes, Dr. David Sinclair. Vicky says video is very grainy, unable to read documents on screen. That may be an internet issue. If everyone is experiencing that, then it may be my internet or YouTube. But if one person is experiencing that, then it may be your internet or device or something. Diana says, would intermittent fasting? Of course. And then Parth says, low carb, high fat, high protein will lose fat. Yes, and there is a lot of theory behind high fat and high protein and what does that work. For example, I was watching a video by Dr. Eric Berg. He's a PhD, he's a chiropractor, but he's very popular, millions of views and millions of subscribers, so of course people like his work. And he was talking about insulin is increased after every kind of meal. It is correct that insulin is increased after every kind of meal, but the amount of insulin and is very different after carbohydrate versus fats and proteins. And when you combine carbohydrates with more fats, then it the lingering insulin levels. So there's a lot more to be had instead of saying all things increase insulin. So yes, it's a beautiful science path, and I would suspect, Parth, what year are you in? You should have read these things in physiology second year, so you should be a master of these things. uh, Parth, we can do chit chat every day. So what we'll do is this: we'll create a post to collect questions. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll collect questions, and then I believe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll do chit chats. Wednesday, a regular standard chit chat. Thursday, we'll do a drawing thing, and Friday, we'll answer questions. So Patizik says, came a bit late. What about supplements during fast? Should you not take them? So usually, supplements should actually be taken every other day. So, yes, if you can prevent them, good. If not, if they are necessary, then take them. So, James Crook says, question on on the channel where answers will be given will be less confusing. Okay, perfect. So, why not I do this? Let me actually create a post right now, and I'll share the link with you just to get us started. So, give me a minute. I'll share the link with you right now after creating that post. So, I just created a 1 second. I'm going to share with you. If I go to community, so 1 second. All right, so here we are. This is the link. So this is a post, the top post on this channel. This is the link where you can put your questions, and the questions with the most likes by Wednesday is the one that we will, or are the ones that I will try to answer. Otherwise, there are just so many questions that I cannot get ahead of all of them, even in multiple sittings. Bambi says, I watch whichever has the best looking news reporter. So, best looking in what way? And does it matter? Man, woman? Okay, so I saw a while back that long QT. Wafer says, hi, Dr. Bean. What about kids? Is it good idea to try intermittent fasting if they have health issues? So remember, I discussed that intermittent fasting can cause growth retardation at the same time. In my culture and faith, children who are 6 7 years of age, they start observing fasts from that age, and they stay hungry from sun, from morning that is before sunrise, so about an hour before sunrise till the sunset. And usually they're fine. So, but still, I do not know what kind of issue there may be, Waffer. So, talk with the doctor, because even for adults, if they are diabetic and they can develop hypoglycemia, let's say they're on insulin or so, and they can develop hypoglycemia, they should not fast with the way others fast. Par says, I read in Harper Biochemistry and Guyton Physiology. What did you read, Parth? What is your year? Looks like Parth is in trouble today here. So KC says, uh, which MCAS I feel with MCAS I feel better with no food in system. Frequent unintentional fasting still ended up with pre-diabetes. Who How will fasting help? So fasting can help reduce progress towards the diabetes, or if you look at these studies, can even reverse it. Bambi says cute, gorgeous, etc. Okay, fine. Well, thank you for staying with me for so long, because I'm not cute, but here you are. That was COVID. um, Par says second year exams. Okay. So second year, that okay, so you should be a master of insulin and glucagons and those things. Roller Girl says, very organized, bravo. Thank you very much. Roller Girl, organized in what way? Iggy Pop says, what is the actual mechanism behind Novavax myocarditis? We have done this discussion before as well. It is the, um, so there is a, I'll tell you two mechanisms. One mechanism is the autoantibodies. So antibodies produced against the spike protein can then target the cardiac tissue as well, especially the contractile proteins of the heart, and that causes inflammation of the heart and damage to it. The other mechanism that some folks stick to that very, very religiously, and I think there is nothing bad in thinking that way, because at the end of the day there is something in people's control and they would like to do that, and that is uh, the vaccine getting into the blood vessels. So sure, if the um, before injecting, if one can see if it has hit a blood vessel or not, it's a process, easy process to do. So if that makes people better, awesome. At the same time, that is really not the mechanism. The mechanism is autoimmune disorder created because of molecular mimicry, where antibodies then go and attack the heart tissue. Par says happiness is a soup, medical students are a fork. Yes. Roller Girl says, Dr. Bean, thank you. Margaret is here. Bambi Secret, hope that you enjoyed the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. I loved many parts, especially the tea with Paddington beer. I have no idea what is the fascination with the royal family. So let's see now. Bambi's trying to say, why Dr. Bean? You have a very calming voice. Okay, so I'm out of the gorgeous and cute part. All right, I'll take this. I'm in bed watching at 3:15 a.m. Thank you for keeping me sane for 2 years. Absolutely, you're very welcome. Erica Cat says, I want Dr. Bean to stand up and turn to his side to see how his gut stick out. It is a little bit more. So I think I have 10 to 15 pounds over 10 to 15 pounds overweight. I was fine. I never became overweight in my whole life, but now I have. So I need to fix this. Waffer says that, have you heard of butter oil and cod liver oil? Is it a good idea to take? So intermittent fasting should be, as I said, started in a slow way and then move forward and become more aggressive with it. So yes, you can take them, and as you would see, you do more and more of fasting, you can further change the diet depending upon what you're trying to accomplish. Casey says, love the accent too. My accent or Bambi's accent? So Art Ninjiok says, can fasting help with the PD-1 overstimulation? It would help by overactive cells to be cleared out. We have seen that. I do not know if it directly attacks the mechanism of PD-1, but any cell that is overstimulated, overactive, that cell can become removed by intermittent fasting, because the cell demands energy and there is no energy and it's just going to die. Patrick says that Dr. Bean seems to have nice muscles. They are heavier than fat, doesn't mean no. So my majority of the body is fine. I have accumulated some belly fat, which I hate. I have never been fat in my whole life, but now I am. John 653 says, Dr. Bean, so I'm watching your chit chat. Even though there is some good TV tonight, NBA Finals, your talk is better. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am honored. We all, the cool beans, are honored. Maureen Olson says, is intermittent fasting good for people with thyroid issues? Depends what is the thyroid issue, over or under. So if it is hypothyroid, then their metabolism is already low and they're gaining weight because they're not able to do a lot of metabolic activities to break down their fats. So then intermittent fasting will be good, but will put them at risk because body is already not using and utilizing the energy brought to them. And now if they are fasting as well, this could cause a problem. Now imagine this is because of some chronic inflammatory state, and then take doing intermittent fasting can help with that state, which in turn can help with the thyroid status. So that means with doctor supervision you can try it to see how does it impact your body. On the other hand, if somebody is hyperthyroid, then they are chugging through the energy so fast and the nutrients that they don't even have enough nutrients. Normally people with hyperthyroid are slim and lean because their body just keeps burning things, and so intermittent fasting might cause them even more breakdown of the tissues. So it really depends the state of your body. It depends upon the state of your body. Siddhartha says it's all the knowledge. Yes. Bambi says, I have a black country accent in England. Very nice. John Snyder says, I lost weight in log. John, now you're challenging me. I got weight. I gained weight. Yes, for sure, me. Roller Girl says, I changed a non-synthetic hormones, AMOR, for hypothyroidism and lost 43 pounds because the activity would have started. Yeah, so those extra. Ulis Viking says, say hello to Sweden. I do intermittent fasting since 5 years. Very good. My best friend, Jan Rosen, is from Sweden. His name is Jan Rosen. Parth says, how about board review series pathology book? Is it good? Well, John. So there are two things that medical students need to do. One is to understand the topics, and the other one is to remember the key parts of the topics for exams. Exam prep is very different from understanding the medicine. Most of the doctors become doctors by exam preps. So once they become doctor, they only know what is being taught to them in residency or on day-to-day activity. They do not know the mechanisms as well, as I would consider that even KoolBeens know better mechanisms than many doctors. So now when you are studying, there are two things that you have to do. One is to understand medicine, and the second is to prepare for exams. And usually you don't get enough time to understand medicine, so you just prepare for it. So if you just want to prepare for it, then board review series is good. If you want to understand it as well, then Goljan is very detailed, but it does not sometimes always explain it. Goljan, if you want to ace your exams, you must know everything in Goljan. If you want to pass your exams, you must know whatever is in board review. But if you want to understand pathology, then you need to know Robbins. Bambi says, second day on my diet and I'm starving and irritable because I want. And here we are talking about intermittent fasting. Buffer says, I swear sometimes I think Dr. Bean looks like Steve Jobs with those shirts. Thank you. Bob says, Dr. Bean looks Steve Jobs tonight in the svelte purple turtleneck. Yep, thank you. Steve Jobs should be proud that I look like him. Augie says, Dr. Mubin, have seen movie The Others? No. Maybe I would try that over this weekend. John Snyder says, when I first started watching these lectures, did so on a glider. Very interesting. Glider, the glider in the air, or something else? So that's fine. That is a good start. So remember, you start changing your diet, you start disciplining your body towards lower side, and then you go further. Siddhartha says chicken shorba. Nice. I like chicken shorba. Chicken soup. Well, shorba is a little different from soup. Um, Nicolene Elma says, what is the best time to exercise during intermittent fasting? Walking fast, slow time. So look, very, very interesting question. Ideally, if you have not starved yourself too much, you should do exercises at your regular interval. The only thing is when your body is too much deprived of nutrition and you push it further to do an exercise as well, and if the exercise is rigorous, that one has a chance for more accidents, right? Because your body is not fully in strength, and you can drop things, or your muscle may give up at some point and cause damage. So that is one. Second, the harm to body because of that extra need, that, for example, muscle fibers can break because they don't have enough strength to work and you're pushing it. So rigorous exercise has to be, you have to be judicious about what is your state, can you do it or not. But if you're walking, or if you are, these are fine during this, because they would actually help further accelerate the body's recovery towards normalcy, or towards becoming lean or better. The other thing is, please remember that it is useful as you breathe for weight loss, because weight loss is done in three ways. Imagine that for a second. Whatever you eat, nutrition. So let's say a burger is eaten by a person, burger. There is a part of that burger that is going to pass through the intestine and get out. So let's say 50% of the burger is wasted. The remaining 50% is now broken down into smaller molecules and is picked up in the body. Then the body is going to use some of it to do the functions and store some of it. When we are now using it, what happens is we use the energy, we convert that into energy. Then the breathing, the oxygen, and the energy, when they interact together, we end up making water plus carbon dioxide. Water we pee out, and carbon dioxide we breathe out. So basically, when you're losing weight, people think that we are losing weight by heat energy. That is not the entire game. Yes, some energy is lost through the heat, but a majority of the weight loss occurs through the carbon dioxide emission from us and the water. So exercising where you're breathing a little more is helpful. The water excretion is also helpful. It's a good question. Erica says, can Dr. Bean do a live while holding mobile, doing a mile walk? I can. So I do a walk in the morning. So if I did a walk in the morning for now 30 minutes with 1 mile walk, how fun would that be? I think people would say, what the heck is this? Why do we care? But I can if you want. Now, here is an interesting thing. I feel, so if I go and look at the stats, I feel that people actually don't have interest in intermittent fasting or these things, at least on this channel. And that may be because they don't think that we discuss these kind of things over here. So it is unexpected. And so they don't care. Or these are just topics not well furnished by me, and I'll have to learn how to do them better. But for example, this intermittent fasting discussion that I just did, total 2,000 views. Normally, by this time, there are 10,000 views or so. So the reason I'm not complaining about the views, the reason I'm trying to ask this is, are these actually interesting topics, or am I just pushing some topics on the audience that came together during COVID times? Bambi says, we could walk with you watching via mobile data. Absolutely. Would you watch? So can we make a little group that we all walk together? Lisu says, I am 72 and have been doing 12-10. 12-10 is 22. Is that 12-12? You have to have 24 hours. And lately 14-10. Intermittent fasting most of my adult life, and so far so good. Well, fingers crossed. Very good to know. DDS says, do the walk. We can walk with you. Excellent. I would do it. So my walk time is usually morning 6, which will mean Eastern time 9, and it might mean other times for other countries. Bambi says, I need motivation walk with Dr. Bean. Excellent. So my 6 in the morning, or let's say I go out to get my coffee at 6, 6 or 6:30, 6. What would be the time in UK? Hey Alexa, 6 a.m. Pacific. What time is that in UK?
I don't know that one.
Yeah, I asked in a wrong way. I confused Alexa. 6 a.m. Pacific to UK, British. 2 p.m. Okay, so Bambi, would you walk at 2 p.m.? John Kivik says, with a GoPro, I can buy a GoPro. Yes, we can do that. Can GoPro relay live on YouTube? Roller Girl says, what time is the Cool Beans workout? So my 6 a.m. will be whatever time that is for you. So Bambi says, excellent. Yes. Okay. Good. John Snyder says, with a GoPro. Okay. So give me and a roller coaster. What is that thing? The okay. So I have to go buy GoPro. It isn't. I'll have to learn, John. This what is this called? The Alcuin says ride a camel. Okay, so Alcuin camel story. In our country, so Pakistan is not a desert country, so we don't have much camels. There are some people who have camels for transportation, but mostly we don't have camel. We have a small, tiny desert area where people say there are camels. So camels are a fascination for us. So when we have Eid, which is like Christmas, then there are street entertainers who come in to to streets with their camels, and so children can give them a few rupees, and then we can sit down on their camels and they'll walk us around and then put us down. So that is the only one time I have sat on a camel, and I still remember when the camel stood up, and it the momentum with which it stood up, and the the ground started going far away when the camel went up. We were young. That was a scary thing, but it was fun. Racing camels, yeah, I totally not like how they race camels by tying children on them. KB Usenet says, I could delay my morning walk. I'm East Coast to walk with Cool Beans. Oh, that's very interesting. So tell me once more, how will we do this? If we do, is there a do we do a walk like a Zoom walk where everyone is actually online and they can talk and we can discuss and talk and walk, or do we do a YouTube live like here on this channel, just like the live now, but we're walking as well? But in that, I can only talk and the rest is are listening or suffering. So how should it be? Maybe a Zoom walk where we can all talk as well. Roller Girl says 7:32 p.m. now, Las Vegas. Yes, so 7:30, same time. Texas says cardiac electrical disturbances having quite the mystery. I understand that some are hereditary. I hint that is Robles is ahead for sometimes. It is. Got it. Yoga we're gonna do with Sita. We will do yoga with her. Okay, so Donald says GoPro app will do a YouTube live stream. That is very interesting. So I can probably go tomorrow to buy a GoPro from Best Buy, and then we can do live. Susan says virtual walk. After 100 miles, we get a Cool Beans medal. That will be actually very nice. We can all become healthy together. Erica says 6 a.m. San France is 17 hours Brisbane, 11 p.m. Fine by me. Okay, excellent. Elquin says two camels. Hmm. Didia says, take Dr. Bean for a walk. No, don't take me for a walk. Come along for a walk. Uh, Rima says, hoping it's audio only. So if you're on Zoom, you can decide to keep audio or video or nothing. But I think all of us will have audio and video on. So you can just suit yourself. Casey says, Cool Beans Walking Club t shirt. Yes. I am so bad at making new t-shirts. KB Usenet says, I sometimes do Zoom chats with workmates. Yes. Rima says, he a cool beat. Rima, you've been putting those comments already, and now you're saying hello. I'm kidding. So Alquin says Alquin will not have internet access while running with turtles. Okay, fair enough. Yoga with Dr. Bean, yes. Rolaga says I lost video, sorry. Oh, I was also thinking um, these intermittent fasting type talks can go on podcast as well. I just didn't want to rip the audio off of a video and put it in a podcast, because now I'm saying, hey, see here and there, and it doesn't look correct. But if I actually did a podcast as well, if I discussed it, that could be an interesting podcast. Path says, be like memory cells, forgive but never forget. Memory cells don't forgive, and they don't forget. Roller Girl says, what time for KoolBeans? So first, let me go buy the um, what is that? GoPro, or should we do it without GoPro? I would just have the phone on, and we can do Zoom. If that is the case, we can do tomorrow or day after at 6 a.m. Uh, Lorne says 6 a.m. Which time zone? Pacific. So I am in Pacific time zone. Rima says I'm replying. Thank you very much, Rima. Bambi says I'm laughing out loud in the bed right now. It camels. Not nice. That was funny actually. Two camels. So Casey says, where will you announce time and date? So on the same channel, on the community side where I just posted this post, I think I'll just add a post as well. So either we'll do it tomorrow or day after. If we do it tomorrow, I want to give a 1 day heads up. So maybe we don't do it tomorrow, but day after, my Sunday, 6 a.m., or I'll send the exact time, and then your time, whatever that time is, and then we do the walk. And we'll do Zoom. Okay, so we'll save the money for the time being, and then we'll decide if it is worth to have um, GoPro as well. Parth says hospital should also have Gita and Quran like courts to make sure the patient doesn't change or give false history to doctors. That's funny. Yes, Iggy, I was actually thinking of saying we should make our metaverse as well. We are behind in making our metaverse. John Snyder says camel and turtle steeplechase exercise when turtles gold the wars at camel's hump. Meanwhile, in America says, when can I ride the cool bean camels? I don't know if the camels are allowed in the US streets, on the US streets. Cool beans and camels. I'll have to go to Pakistan to ride camels. John Sienkiewicz says, anyone here about a clinical trial for long COVID in the Houston area, Texas, using stem cells? It is being carried out by a nonprofit foundation, Hope Bioscience, and they are still registering. Very interesting. Alcuin says, are street legal? Camel are street legal generally. Hmm. Really? Pars is going for studies. Thank you. Absolutely. Enjoy. Rima says, I remember camel riding on the beach in Karachi. Yes. Yes. So I had never been to Karachi when I was young. I went to Karachi maybe once in my whole life. There was some business thing for which I went. Susan says camels in Arizona somewhere. Very interesting. Also, a funny thing. Uh, you have now seen that I have a couple of statements that I use very commonly for kind of participating. One I say got it, and the other one is very interesting. So somebody put a comment on YouTube. Dr. Bean says very interesting all the time. He does not want to reveal what he really is thinking. He's such a coward. He doesn't want to say it. He just says very interesting. And I don't even know what I was supposed. I just say very interesting very often. If I don't say what people are expecting me to say, they think I'm a coward. Doug, what are these? Bambi says, I went on a camel in Future Venture. A random man joined me to distribute the weight. Ramnik says, I remember seeing camels dancing in a video in Rajasthan. Very pretty. Yes. Rajasthan side has camels. Paul Borg says camels were American, then spread across world arid regions. Oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting, not being a coward, but yeah, it is interesting. Patrick says camels were actually used more than horses in the Old West in the US. They were wild herds, even, but were eradicated. Very interesting. Very interesting. That's how I speak. Rima says, got it. It's a classical beanism. Yes. Dr. Z says, that's hilarious. Can't please everyone. Welcome, Dr. Z. How are you doing? Yes. Paul Borg says, that's very interesting, Dr. Bean. Correct. I have two things. Got it. Very interesting. Yes, that is correct. Scary going up and coming back. Absolutely. When it goes up, it's like it's gonna catapult you somewhere. And then when it goes down, it sits down and you just go down like that. Yeah, so they are called the um, transportation or the plains of the sands or deserts. Thank you, Dr. Z. Rima says, you're the last thing from a coward. I mean, burning beds, pushing goats off slides, talking about ivermectin. Yes, talking about ivermectin and getting punished adequately. Still continuing to talk. Llamas are better than camels. Llamas are actually so cute. I don't know, can you ride a llama? Mary says, camel Caesar. Yeah, so let's see if I can actually find camel. Dancing camel YouTube. Okay, so check it out. I just randomly said dancing camel YouTube. So here is a camel. It is dancing. This seems like India or Pakistan area. So there used to be street entertainers who would come in with the camels, but I have not seen a camel dancing. I've ridden a camel. Susan says, putting eyes. Bambi says he'd been seen me wondering if it was safe to ride the camel alone. Alpacas have been in the news, yes, with Johnny Depp. I really loved it when he would leave the court and there will be those alpacas uh, parading as well with the pirate hats. So John says alpacas are small, llamas are bigger and spit. Dr. Z says that's a great rhythm. Yes. Texas says don't kiss your camel. I have heard that camels are very vengeful. So if you bother them, they can sit on their own owners. If the owner is not nice to them, they'd sit on him till the owner dies. Bambi secret, kiss and camel. uh, Vanilla Bean says camel's milk is supposed to be very healing. No, I have no idea. No idea at all. I'll have to do some research. Very interesting. Robin says llamas are too small for riding except for small children. Now I'll say, got it. Bay Area says terrible way to die. Yes, if a camel becomes read up, if a camel becomes upset, they are very notorious for killing their own owners who bother them. Margaret says, please stop listening to nasty people. Yes. Roller says, hopefully Dr. Bean is eating a nice dinner before fasting. No, so I had my lunch today at 1, and now I would have breakfast in the morning, 2 eggs and a couple of small pieces of kebabs. So no more food now from the noon till tomorrow morning. M. Gregory says, I wish I can fast like a camel. Well, camels have humps. Our equivalent of hump is the belly fat. But we cannot handle the absence of water. Alexander Kocher says, in French, we have chameau and dromadaire. In English, they both translate to camel. Very nice. Vanilla Bean says, that sounds like a great breakfast. Yeah, just 2 things, 2 eggs and couple of bites of kebabs done. No carbohydrates. So I do take carbs yet, but they are only in the lunch. But that's it. No dinner. Breakfast is carb free as well. SS says, do you eat that way every day or every day? I just eat. We are very much used to fasting for the whole day long. So skipping a meal or changing the food type is not a big deal. I think the more important thing is to stick to it. Staying disciplined is the problem. Maureen says, so you don't want to piss off a camel? No, not at all. Camel would kill you. That they're so vengeful. They don't forget. So whenever they get a chance, if a camel owner is not good to them, if a camel gets a chance, it would kill them. It would kill the owner. M. Gregory says, if fasting, keep your fridge open, empty or put a lock on it. Yeah. Also, on this one, I wanted to share with you. Remember Bree, Bree Dressine, who joined us for a vaccine injury discussion, and she said fresh food is very important. I observed that for my wife's state, although my wife is almost 99% now recovered, but still, if she ever gets a relapse, fresh food is very helpful. And sometimes, food sitting in the fridge, maybe a day old or two, that can cause a relapse. So, I wanted to share this with everyone as well, that there is some truth in that. Meanwhile, in America says MCAS trigger. Yes. Rima says fresh food. What's that? Rima, try it if you ever get any inflammatory state. Fresh food helps. Yep. So John says, is she doing low histamine? She has actually gone back to normal foods, and she is no more, um, those facial burnings and paresthesias. That is gone. Then she still sometimes have a relapse with the lethargy or sometimes joint pains, but generally she's gone back to normal activities, normal food, and is okay. But when this happens, then in those days she doesn't take any medicines anymore or supplements as well. So I think she's 99% recover. This is a good question. Are two humped camels more thirst resistant than one hump camel? I have no idea. That's a good question. Bob Chanel says, I think llamas are too small for an adult to ride. Okay, so that discussion is still continuing. Bambi says, that's interesting. Bambi, that's mine. Bob Chanel says, and they spit. I did not know that they spit as well. That's not nice. Iggy Pop says, cool bean llama farms. This is a fun one. Alexander is saying Paul Borg, the person was Google. So some side discussion. Uh, Mary says a spit and kick. Hmm, that's correct. Just don't be cruel to any animal. M. Gregory says yes. So John says, do you play pickleball or any racket sports? Yes. So my whole life, the so I've done lots of sports, but the ones that I have really, really done with lots of interest and with some level of, hobby excellence, um, the badminton. I love badminton. I love jumping and shooting. That is one I love and I've played a lot. Then squash, which is racquetball. I used to be into school squash champion for the little time I went to school. But squash I was crazy for. In the hot weather, we used to have a community, a gated community near our house where they had squash courts and there were no roofs on them. So at blazing sun, playing during that time was impossible. So people would just not play. And I used to sneak into that community and then, go into the squash courts and just play alone by myself. So I love squash. And then ping pong. I love ping pong. So I do not know about pickleball. John Snyder says the largest llamas are about. Wow, there is a lot of discussion about llamas today and camels. Iggy Pop says pickleball is fun. That's interesting. Shuttlecock, yes. So the badminton. I love that. So with this, so Margaret says, why does that happen? Eating leftovers causing relapse. It is possible that even when these are refrigerated, they are still not so the food is breaking down or bacteria are growing in there. So there is something that is broken down, which then causes the irritation. So with this, please like, subscribe, and share. Links in the description if you would like to support this work. and I would see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. So I have added the post. Add your questions. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we will plan to do normal other channel things. We'll see if on Wednesday we do this extra as well, and then I will see if we can go out for a walk tomorrow or day after, maybe day after. The question is, how do I share Zoom link? Because on the YouTube, everyone is going to try to join it. So that is the question to answer. Okay, so maybe I share the Zoom link on the post. Once we have done the walk, I delete the link. Okay, so have a nice weekend. Hopefully, see you 6 a.m. on Thursday. Bye bye for now.